Hey everybody, welcome to Storm Talk on this Wednesday. A lot of good news to share with you guys on the front end here of the video, which is good. We got a lot of warm air. I know I personally have got a lot to do outside the next few days after work each day to try to get things caught up, because I'm sure a lot of us are feeling like we're behind schedule and getting our yards ready for the season coming up, and farmers just need just some dry weather just to even get the equipment out there, and especially for the hay. So I get it. It's certainly been a wet pattern, and this is the longest stretch we'll have that we actually are preparing to go through since at one point, I think in March, that we had an opportunity to have a little bit of dry weather for about 4 days. Otherwise, you have to go back to late January. It's crazy. All right, so looking good today. 35. We had the frost, a lot of frost around the area this morning, and a freeze still ongoing in some spots at the moment. Just a few high-level clouds that we're talking about today. These are not the lower layer clouds like we had yesterday, so they're not going to create an overcast-looking sky to be more of a hazy sky in some areas, but it is still going to warm decently today. In fact, most of these passing clouds look like that overnight tonight they will be moving through the area, and then we'll go back into a clear sky again during the daylight hours tomorrow. Now, one thing you can't tell, this is the system now moving on shore. Let me see if I can pan the radar over just a bit. This is the one that is causing us the ruckus as we head into this upcoming weekend, sending several rounds of energy moving our way. That will kick up the wind as early as tonight and early tomorrow, and then we'll have another surge of wind for the end of the week. Here's what I want to draw on this before I get to the maps, so everybody understands kind of what we're facing here. There's a strong low pressure. It's going to be spinning across the Midwest and working its way into the Great Lakes. Now, it will be occluding at the same time, which means it's not going to have its typical fronts with it. Warm front and cold front kind of fade away and becomes just a low. That process will be happening throughout the whole weekend. Now, when it's still a mature system and it has a typical cold front, warm front deal, it's going to be mainly in this area on Friday, and that is where I think the severe weather really will begin to ramp up first. There's already an enhanced risk, I think, already out in that area for that issue. Right when the initiating point of that cold front hits, all that moisture coming straight out of the Gulf of Mexico, it's right in the path of it as it moves in off the Rockies. So that's the initiating point. Now, when the low starts to occlude, what we end up happening is the front itself, it's still there, but it's not as organized. But you're going to have multiple rounds of low pressures rotating around this. They're going to ride up the front, one after another after another. And if the front doesn't move very quickly to the east, then each one of those little impulses that come by will enhance the rain potential, and if there's enough instability, thunderstorm potential. And the signs are trending more and more that the front will be lingering long enough that we will likely get at least 2 rounds, potentially 3. And for that, I went with the alert for Saturday for some that could be severe. We'll talk about that in a second. And just more importantly, the heavy rain scenario that could develop in flash flooding if we were to get these multiple rounds. Now, if the data trends as we get closer to speed this along a little quicker and cut down on the severe threat and the heavy rain threat, then we'll pull back on the alert. But right now, what the alert is for you guys to just be aware of something potentially coming our way, and let's hope we can take it back down later. I hope that all makes sense. So let's dive right into it. I'll start with the wind for tonight. In fact, if you have wind chimes outside your home, you're likely going to hear them overnight tonight, early tomorrow. The wind will kick in over 30 miles per hour before the sun even comes up. And it's going to be breezy most of the day. That's a good thing. It's going to get us in the 70s, all right? Now, here is a look at the Euros, the one I'm aiming toward. The GFS has been trending toward the Euro the past couple of runs. So I'm going to speed the clock up to Friday a.m. Look how warm we are Friday morning, already in the 60s. Now, so we get into the afternoon. Now we're getting into probably a hazy sunshine, quite windy. The model is not fully grasping how we overachieve here in warmth, so that's why we've got 80s in the forecast. It has 77, which is actually pretty high for the model. Then we get into Friday night, Saturday morning. This is where the severe weather that breaks out first in Missouri and Illinois, we will get the leftovers of that early in the morning hours. How far east that goes is what I'm still trying to figure out. I think we'll get a fairly thick overcast canopy of clouds over us early in the day, but leftover showers look to be probable. Now here comes impulse number 1 that will ride up along that front, because again, the front hasn't moved yet. It basically has put the brakes on. You see the difference. You've got near 80 still in East Kentucky, and then you got 60s and a band of heavy rain and thunderstorms right on the edge where the instability is. That's impulse number 1. Saturday afternoon, it moves into Ohio. We then get some sort of a break, not much of one. The front, by the way, is still here. It hasn't moved east of us yet. So then impulse number 2 gets its act together and begins to roll in during the overnight hours and early on Saturday. So it's those multiple rounds moving in that concerns me when it comes to heavy rain, but also if there's enough instability, there could be severe weather. Let me show you that. Here's the potential for instability in red. I have the radar, future radar, also underneath that, but the red on top of that is the instability values, and once you get into oranges and yellows on that, it's pretty high instability. Here we are again, Friday evening. Now, as we head into Saturday morning, notice I mentioned we got the leftovers. So that's a relatively stable rain on Saturday morning. Not overly heavy, but stable, nothing severe. Your parameters for severe weather, storm energy still to our south and west at this point. Now, when we head into the afternoon, you can see where, if the sun could come out, we start to develop some instability right ahead of that low pressure that's going to move across the region. So I think central Kentucky and perhaps even northern Kentucky here will be at risk for perhaps some damaging thunderstorms if that is all realized. Otherwise, to be a stable rain behind that over much of Indiana. And then we'll see that continue until we get a break. And then here comes the next wave for the overnight hours early Saturday. But notice not as much instability. So I think this becomes more, because of the darkness of night, nocturnal thunderstorms are a severe threat. We don't have as much energy to work with. So that second impulse moving in during the night, that one is more of a heavy rain threat scenario. And then the final one will once again have the ability to tap in some storm energy because it's a daytime event. But right now we're betting on it being just out of our area into eastern Kentucky and West Virginia by the time that happens. And we may luck out and void number 3. This, by the way, is snow. And we could see, I'll get to that in a second. All right, so I hope that all makes sense. The first impulse that comes in Saturday, midday, across central areas of wave country, that is the one that will take advantage of the heating of the day and has the potential to become strong, possibly severe. The second one is nocturnal. Therefore, severe threat is lower, but the heavy rain threat is higher. And then the third one may impact you all closer to between Louisville and, say, Lexington, and we could get lucky and be that at that point out of our area altogether. So the third one's a little more iffy. But the first two, that does have my attention. Looking at the sounding, I know this is a lot to read at on the screen here, but in general, I mean, we got a lot, decent low-level shear in the area. Instability is right about 1,000 or so joules, which is pretty good. Certainly can support severe weather. Lifted index about -6. That's certainly unstable. The shear is there as well. They're not exactly a strong supercell indicator here, so these are mainly going to be clusters of thunderstorms that could contain some gusty winds. I know the system says marginal tornado, and that's mainly for the low-level shear that is showing up in through here, although the hodograph is not overly impressive for tornado weather. I can't rule that out, of course, guys, but those little mini lows moving in, each little impulse has got a wind going around it in a counterclockwise way, so I can't rule that out, but I don't want you guys to think I'm playing that out. I want you all to get from this is that potential is there for some heavy rain and some damaging thunderstorms Saturday afternoon, but the heavy rain is something you really need to watch carefully. So this is where I drew the map. Storm Prediction Center right now, they tend to go a little slower with these events far out, and then they'll ramp up as you get more data and confidence goes up. And again, my confidence is not overly high, but it's higher than yesterday, and that's why I'm getting a little more detailed now. I think their prediction center outlook there is about to Nashville. I think it's going to be a little more into Kentucky. You could almost argue it would be another area here if the front is slower than expected. You would have, almost like the radar was even showing, you would have the ability to get some instability for thunderstorms here, and then also in this area with nothing but rain located in the middle, and a stable rain at that. That is possible Saturday. We'll watch that. But in general, I think Kentucky should at least be included in this potential right now. Heavy rain threat, you bet. That is certainly possible. If we get one wave, then the second wave, and then the third wave, you see the problem there where we could be talking about 1 to 3 inches of rain in the area. Real quick, on Sunday, as it moves out, it does look cold enough for Sunday night into Monday that we could have a rain-snow mix. I do not see any sign of an accumulation, though. But even just saying a rain-snow mix is painful enough. My apologies, guys. I hated to do it.